following is a conversation I had with Juliana Martinelli and Andre Dantas about their project building the first 3D printed home in Brazil. So welcome, guys. I'm really glad that you took the time to join me today to have this conversation about the 3D printed house you've recently built in Brazil. It's a really cool project. I saw your YouTube channel. You've been working on it for years at this point. So why don't we dive into it and tell me a little bit about how the company got started and the mission you guys are pursuing.
Okay. I think I will start, Andre, if that's okay.
Sure.
My company, InovaHouse3D, started in 2015, the beginning of the year of 2015. Just after the Chinese company I saw you visited. It was so cool. Just after the release of the 10 houses printed in one day news that the Chinese company did, it went viral all over the world, and it reached us in Brazil. And by that time, it was, I think, 2014. And by that time, my father was in a UN mission, peacekeeping mission in Haiti, and I also lost an uncle there in the earthquake in 2010 in Haiti. So I was keeping up with all the rebuild things that were happening there. And when my father traveled there 4 years later than the earthquake, he showed me like nothing was being done because there was no infrastructure to rebuild the country, the city that was affected. And I saw this news and it just opened up my mind. Like, I have to take this technology to countries that really need it. So I was really engaged in 2015 to try to build a company here in Brazil, to build the technology and then take to this island or small countries in South America. And also in Brazil, because we also need the technology, like all the advantages of the technology here in Brazil also. We have a population of 30 million people homeless or living in shelters, and this is not very good. So that's why I started the company, and we are researching since then. And in 2017, the end of the year, we built the first 3D printed, concrete 3D printed here in Brazil. And we ran out of funds. We actually had like 2 public funds, investors, like the government invested in our project, but the fund ended. And I didn't have like any money to keep the company going or the team working for free, because we were already working for paying to work actually to build the company and the machine and the technology. And we started an innovation hub to keep the technology in small research centers here in Brazil and also in the universities. And that's how we meet Andre and his team. They are in another city, and we start sharing our project. And now they were able to build the first house here in Brazil, which is a great accomplishment with little funding. But it was, for me, it's the most spectacular house I've ever seen. So beautiful. But we know we have to improve a lot. So we are looking for some investment and some public funding also. And that's the point we are now. And we are studying some partnership or merging the companies, since we are projects from different cities and different states, and Brazil also, just like the US, it's very big. So it's very hard to be close together because it's very far apart.
Sure.
And something like that's how we started, and that's the point we are now.
That's awesome. And so the whole time you've been developing the printer technology, right?
Yes.
You developed your own hardware, and the printer, I saw some of your older videos, you were using PVC pipe for a while.
Yeah.
Can I see one of your early extruders?
Yeah, I call that the green printer, the Frankenstein prototype, because we took parts of different machines and recycled parts of broken machines, and we put them together to build like the first prototype of 3D printer. And now we have a big one, and André and his team in Natal, that's the city they are in, they built like a huge one, and they were able to build the first 3D printed house.
Yeah, that's really cool. Brazil isn't always known for its startup culture, and like there aren't tons of big innovative companies coming out of Brazil, but you guys are ignoring that and just like pushing forward and having success with it. To be able to have printed that house, I mean, how did the permitting work for that? The city let you do it?
I think André can talk better about this.
Sure. Uh-oh, you're muted. You're muted.
Let me just first, before I talk about what we are, where we are right now, let me talk about how we begin and our project.
Great, even better.
So we started 4 years ago, and at the particular university here in Natal, I am a professor there, and I met Iago's brother, the one is here in our meeting, and Iago's brother was my student, not Iago, but his brother. And I saw Iago building a 3D printer of plastic, the small one. So I thought, because Iago was not a computer engineering student, he was a student of civil engineering. And I thought, why aren't you building something for your area, not for 3D printer for plastic? And I asked him, can you build something for concrete or mortar or something like that? Because I think it's more appropriate for you. And he thought about 2 or 4 days, and then he asked me to supervise his work. And I also called another one that is Allison, his name, and he at that time he was able to make some materials for construction, and then we had the whole team together. Someone, me, that can understand the automation part, and someone who can build the machine, and someone to improve the material for the printer. Then 6 months after, they managed to build a small printer for concrete. We used pressure to pump the mortar, and I thought at that time that we could do better if we had more funding and we had a larger space to build our machine. So I took from my own money to rent a place to build a 19-meter square printer. It's not exactly because we can adapt the machine, but that was our second step. And then that didn't work at that time because it was too hard to adapt the machine and to adjust it to print. So we had to step back and we got one step back, and then we built a printer to build small pieces, architectural pieces, so we could improve our knowledge about the software and the hardware and the printer itself. And then after we understand everything about that, we get back to the bigger machine, and then we start to print the house. So the first printer was adapted to the new knowledge we had at that time, and then I bought a place in near Natal, and we start to print there. So we try to get our every documents that we need from the government and from the now I don't remember.
Municipality?
Yeah, but the Council of Engineering.
Okay.
I don't know. And then
like they wanted to do structural tests on it and ensure that it was structurally secure, or
they supervise the building while we are doing the work. So we got everything we need to approve our starting for the building, and then we start to print. So we built a 66 meters square house, just the walls. We are about to finish everything up, but right now we have just the walls, and we test everything we need to the printer. And from the 4 years ago to now, we developed 4 kinds of pump, 4 printers, and we developed some partnerships. Juliana is one of them, of course, an important one. But we also start a partnership with universities, so we can develop the material, and we everything we done up to now had no funding, but me. I am giving money for this project, and the other 2 are working hard to get the printer better and the mortar and concrete better. And everything we did using about $35. $35,000. Oh. $1,000.
$35. How did you build it for $35?
So the whole project up to now, we are not telling about the time we spent to build and everything, just the money we need. So of course, everything can be better if we had more funding, but we could do everything up to now with just a little bit money. I think it's an achievement.
Yeah,
I always say to Andre that he's the best professor a student can have, because he motivated his students to start the project, and he gave money so they could build the whole thing. It's very rare to find professors like that, at least in Brazil. I don't know if in the US you can actually find someone so supportive in the university, but he is really a major part of the project. I'm very proud to know him. He's a role model.
I took the risk too. I think the problem is not having the money, but taking the risk, because I'm not rich. just to let you know.
And so you guys are looking for fundraising, and have you publicly made certain requests for like an equity for an amount of money, or is that all private right now? Like, how much money do you want to raise?
We are planning this part now. We are structuring all the whole project to expand the machine and the material and build other constructions, not only houses, but as Andres said, they also build furniture, like for exterior part of the house, and also some tables and some chairs. That's very nice. So we are trying to see what we can build and how much we are going to need. And we are in this part right now, right, Andre? We are
Right.
building a project to be founded.
Just to add, we have a dream right now, that is to build more houses.
Yeah, sure.
And of course, for doing this project, the next step for the printing, the 3D printing, we will need money. I cannot pay for 10 houses or 30 houses to print. So that's what kind of partnership at short time we need. But of course, we are looking for partnership for a long time partnership. But we think this kind of partnership have to share our dream together with us, because this kind of knowledge, this kind of development, this technology, it has a huge future. So we don't need a partner that thinks short. We need a partner that can grow with us, that can understand that the printing can be bigger than it's right now.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a really unique opportunity you guys have to have already printed the first house in Brazil. That gives you kind of like a leadership position, especially in that country. And I think that more people are investing in the construction sector because people recognize that it's been a laggard in innovation, where every other industry, you see the efficiency per worker going up, 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 up. With construction, it's been like flat or even down, with more safety precautions being implemented. But technologies like yours that you're developing for automation and reducing the number of people on the job is going to increase the efficiency per worker. And that'll like help the whole industry and the efficiency of the whole process. Ultimately, like you're saying, the end result could be affordable housing and fast built housing in regions where a lot of times there's damage, whether it's from hurricanes or mudslides, and tons of stuff gets wiped out. Every single person needs a new house because the old house wasn't strong enough. If you could print them a house quickly that was strong enough to withstand those kinds of natural disasters, or at least have a better chance of lasting through them, then you could save those people months and months of hard labor of repairing their country, and let them just focus on whatever normal economic activities they have. And it would really, it would prevent a big thing that's holding some of those areas back right now, having to constantly rebuild. I also think it's a really unique time because the United States has been printing a lot of money from the Federal Reserve. And so where the United States used to be seen as like a really trustworthy monetary supply, and the people trusted the US dollar, the trust in the US dollar is like fading away, a lot of because of the printing that the Federal Reserve is doing. So I think now more than the past 5 years or 10 years, investors are looking to get their money out of US dollars and out of American companies and into foreign countries, especially developing countries. I mean, Brazil has been on everybody's radar as like a really up and coming economy for, I feel like my entire life almost. And so to see that kind of rise and see the trust in the American dollar falling, I could really see a big shift in investment going towards countries in South America.
Yeah, I think that the whole world is collapsing, right? We are also printing money here in Brazil, so the economy is not like super warm. But we are seeing that more investments are coming to developing countries, and we hope that investors reach our country with open mind and start investing in new technologies like the 3D concrete printing and other technologies also. We have a lot of good researchers here in Brazil, but we struggle with funding, especially from the government. So it would be really nice to see foreign investors coming to Brazil. And a good point about our project is that the material is not too expensive. I remember seeing in your channel in an old video that some projects around the world, they were so trying to make like a super material, and it ends up being too expensive and not very competitive with some other construction methods. But our material is not very expensive because we didn't change the technology of the material so much. We just wanted to be able to build a house using a mixture of cement and some other things, and it ended up the material being very competitive with more traditional ways, methods of construction. So it was a very good point of the project we developed here in Brazil. My project and Andre's project, they are similar in this case.
I think the most incredible part is how far you've come. Not to discredit the investment, especially because it's a personal investment. Obviously, that's a huge amount of money personally, but to come all this way and build a whole house with your printer for only $35,000, that's really incredible. So I think investors looking at this, if you tell someone to build a house with $35,000, they're not going to know where to start, let alone building a machine that could print another house right afterwards. So I think it's really incredible. Obviously, it's been a lot of time, and like you're saying, you guys are paying to work in some ways and like supporting yourself as a startup. But that's really cool. It's like a really grassroots and bootstrapping kind of classic startup scenario.
I think
It reminds us of like the garage startup, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Start with nothing, and we just build whatever we have.
I think building the house take us to the next level, because there are many things that we didn't know before we print the house. We didn't thought that we could get our material so cheap. We didn't know until we print the house. So we understand the material, how it works, how we can adapt to the local
Parameters, humidity.
local composition of the material. So we grow a lot by printing it. And if you see the picture of the printed house, it's rose than the bathroom we made inside our rented place, because we didn't know many things. So we didn't know how to manage people inside the building. We didn't know that some of the pump broke, and some many things happened to disturb the printing. So now we know we can do better, and we can do faster, and we can do cheaper this house and the next one, and as many as we could do.
Sure. And I should have asked this earlier. What classes do you teach as a professor?
I am a computer engineering teacher, a professor. Okay, And here in our university, we just teach any subject that comes. So I teach digital signal processing and control systems and electronics and programming and almost everything in the computer engineering.
So you
I have a channel on YouTube with more than 200 videos that teach almost everything in the computer engineering.
What's the name of that channel?
André Dantas.
Andre Dantas. So your name.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll check that out after this.
But it's just in Portuguese. I'm sorry.
And Juliana, are you an engineer?
I'm actually graduating in electrical engineering.
Cool.
I started my university in the States, actually, in the University of the District of Columbia.
Okay.
And I took a year there, and my parents moved from the States to Brazil. And I started electrical engineering here. And it took me like 10 years to graduate, because when I was in the second year of the undergraduate program, I started the company. So I had to wait and lock the semester, lock the year. I don't know if you use this term, but I took a pause and I dedicated my time to build the project. And now I went back to the university to finish my degree. And I'm I hope I can finish this year, because I started again this year, and because of the coronavirus crisis, I wasn't sure if I could finish, but I think I will. With online classes and everything changed, but the classes didn't stop, only for a week or two to adjust all the with online classes and all these kind of things. So I will hopefully graduate this year.
So the house that you printed, did you include, what kind of supports did you use? Like rebar or like metal or anything?
Yeah, I'm not civil engineer, but I think I can talk about the project in a superficial way.
Sure.
To print the house, we first had to have the design. So we adapt the design to our geometry of block, because one of our worries was because there's no normalization for the 3D printing, and we thought that a special norm here that use block of concrete could fit. So we designed our building using this normalization. We try to match the performance of this norm. And after we could match the needs of this norm, we could print in accordance to it. So our printing, if you cut the wall, you see a block. So this block that is in our wall matches with this normatization, I'm sorry. And then we had some trials to make sure that its MPA is hard enough to support the building. So we don't need iron or something like that to support the building. But if needed, we could print in our design. We could make the design to print a space to put the iron, and then use as a support to the house.
Wow. So you didn't need any supports for the house.
No, because it's just one floor.
That's great.
We could.
And so you only printed one version of the house, and then the engineer gave you the thumbs up and it was good?
We built just this house because of the fund we had at that time, but we are starting the walls and seeing if the material the wall don't crack and there's no more pathology in the building, so we can go further with the obtaining the documentation from the government.
Yeah, cool.
Because of the small scale of the building, they were able to equalize to compare the results of the 3D wall to a methodology, a construction methodology in Brazil called the concrete wall. It's a kind of construction that doesn't need the iron or anything to support the house when it's a small scale construction. So it was easier to do that than try some new ways of building a wall with all that that pattern that we see in videos of the technology. So they try to match the wall they built with already a well-known technology here in Brazil, well-known building construction methodology here in Brazil. It was easier and faster to get approved of the house. I'm not sure if we can send someone to live in the house yet, because we have to watch the construction for a year so that they can say the final word if we can actually live there, if someone can actually live in the house. But we got the permission to build it.
Sure, that's great. I think that it seems like Brazil, or at least the town and the city, is like working with you. They want to see the progress with construction. A lot of places, it seems like maybe they're being like helpful with you by letting you use the like kind of old standards and stuff, comparing the technology you're using now structurally to what exists. Some places they're making people print two versions of a house, one that they destroy to figure out how strong it is, and then the other one they leave standing. So that they're not forcing you to do that really helps with like the economic viability, and so it becomes more reasonable, because to make two whole houses and destroy one, that's so wasteful.
Yeah, and I think that the biggest challenge was because there's no way to printing is different from making a block or making a wall using forms, because we have our material hardening while we are printing, and we wanted to make this the only difference between our printing and the normalization we had in Brazil. So we had no other problem than, no, you are printing, okay, but our material and our geometry and everything are already in the normalization. So what's the difference? The difference is that our material get hard in the sun and wind and stuff like that, and not inside a building with humidity controlled and something like that.
So you're saying when you printed just in the outside environment and you didn't have any kind of tent or anything around it?
No.
Wow. Most companies printing on site that I've talked to, they usually build a whole structure, like almost a temporary building around the building.
Yeah, we tried at first to control the humidity around the building, but after some time we thought weren't it wasn't necessary. So because we changed the material we were using and we got a match to the printing in the sun and everything.
Cool. So do you think that's specific to your area that you're able to do that? Or um, like, is it only the environment in Brazil that allows you to print without the tent?
Yeah, I don't know if we because we didn't uh, make any other trials than with this new material.
Mm-hmm.
So we understand that the relationship between cement and sand grows or decrease, increase or decrease the strength of the material.
Okay.
And we used a relationship with low cement, so we didn't get cracked, the wall cracked when the sun shines upon the wall.
Cool.
So that's the main difference. So we think we can adapt to others regions in Brazil because we understand the relationship of all of the material and we can do it while we are building.
Awesome.
It is funny because in Natal, the city that André is in, is very humid and there's a lot of sun. But here in my city, Brasilia, it is very dry. So we are planning on build one house here, and maybe we will have to test this material and really see how it works in a completely different environment. But we are very excited about that. It will be a new challenge for the project.
Awesome. That's definitely a good challenge for yourself to kind of force the company to explore different humidity levels and make sure that your technology is going to be scalable for different regions. So like you mentioned, there's the material, the printer, and the software really as the three core kind of subjects that you have to focus on. Of those three, where's your main focus right now?
I'd like to say it was the software, but I have no time to focus on software. So it's the hardware.
The hardware.
The pumping and adapting the printer to more houses.
And so let's
can work with more materials, but I think André and his team already have some very good options of material. So working with the material, of course, we can always improve it, but we have a very good material so far. And the machine, we have some improvements to make also. Maybe scale up and add some intelligence to the machine. But we also have a machine that is working, right, André? And the software too. But I think that our biggest challenge is adding those intelligence and improving the bombing, the pumping.
Yeah, so when it comes to like the mechanical, I guess there's really the printer and the pump are the two like main mechanical parts, right? So have you developed your own custom pump too?
Yep. We developed the pump and the printer. We just didn't develop the motor that we use because there's no meaning of doing that. But about that, I don't know if you have seen our video printing the house. You may see people around the building, not just looking, but also helping to put some materials, and that's bother me mainly because I'm graduate in computer engineering, and my doctoral is automation and system.
Sure.
And I want everything automated. And I think the main problem there was because the pump, when we were building the house, it broke, and we had to adapt the pump and make some gambiarra. We call that in Brazil, is a technical term when you try to do something that you shouldn't do, but it works. And we just adapted the machine, and we could build the house without the pump, the original pump.
Sure.
But it should be using the pump, and it should be using an automated system to mix the material and with the water, and giving the material to the printer, so the printer can position the head of the printer and build the house.
Yeah, it's all about making it work, right? It's not so important how you get there. As long as you just keep making improvements.
Yeah.
So the house is, you said, how many square meters?
66.
So let me convert that to square feet so I understand. Okay, so is it a 1 or 2 bedroom?
2 bedroom.
2 bedroom.
2 bedrooms.
Cool. And will you wait a year and then think about putting in things like windows and doors and stuff like that, or are you gonna do that stuff sooner?
Yeah, because we are just discussing if we build and put the roof and the windows and those things, and we are just choosing the technology to do those things because they are not printed, but we have to choose something that matches with the technology, and our house seems to be a technological house that was printed. So we are just discussing that part, and then we can make the finalization of the building.
What about the layers? Do you think you'll leave the layering exposed, or will you try to like cover it and make it flat?
I think we can do both. A part that is better printed because we made some mistakes, and we can hide those. We can cover with something, and the other part that is better printed, we can show so people can understand, no, this house was printed.
Yeah, that sounds smart. I think it's good to leave some of the natural layers there so that people understand the technology behind it.
I think it's very nice to mix both of the designs, because we can make the 3D printed wall looks nice and use the layers as a design element, and also we can increment in the building some different kind of patterns, and maybe make it flat, or put some other elements of coverage of the wall, like painting and stuff like that, and make a very nice design, but mixing with the natural layers of the printer, because we just want to show the technology and its potential.
Definitely. Definitely. Do you have a next project kind of in mind, or is that top secret?
You can tell if you want, Juliana.
We do have some other projects in mind. As we talked before, we want to build a house here in Brasilia, the city I am in, and we also want to build more houses to show all the potential of the technology. Just to clear up, we have a social program, a social housing program here in Brazil, and André and his team build the house in the models of this program, so we can have government funding to build houses, but we also need to have the technology regulated by a bank here in Brazil, so we can finance the construction, because the bank has to approve the methodology, so we can finance more houses, like the build of 30 houses or something like that. And we are working on this now, and we are writing projects to help us get funding to expand this one house with no roof and no window to a very livable house and with a great standard. Because as I said before, we have a lot of people here in Brazil living in shelters and in the favelas and places like that, and we want to change this reality with the technology.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be game changing once the banks see the project, especially if they see a return on the project. They're going to want to do it 100 more times. So I hope you guys are ready to explode after that. It's pretty big growth.
Yes. As you said before, in Brazil, we don't have like this innovation culture very strong. So it's always hard to talk to this kind of agents because they are not very used to take a lot of risks in their investments. So we are trying to change their mind and also support our project, especially because it's from Brazil. Everything we build is in Brazil. And we already have some big companies investing in technology outside Brazil, companies in Brazil. And they trust more what is built in the US and in China, and they don't trust what is being developing here in our country, which is very frustrating, but we are changing this, right, André?
Of course. And about the low-cost houses, our region in Brazil is the poorest, one of the poorest of the whole country. So we built in this region and in a city that's not the capital. So we are just planning to show the government, look, we can do this in a city that can help people with low money, few money, and that really needs this kind of house.
Absolutely.
Yes. Brazil really needs this technology, so it's good to like build something for our hometown, home country.
People may think that we are taking jobs from poor people, but many companies have been telling us that people don't want this kind of job, and they are complaining because they cannot hire someone with the price they want to hire, and they are complaining about that. So it's the right time for Brazil to grow and focus on this technology.
Yeah, that is a common complaint about any kind of automation. People love to say, what about the jobs? But I think that everybody who really understands that's educated. If there's a more efficient way to do something, you're going to do it the efficient way. You never choose something that's going to take longer and cost more. You have to do the efficient, cheaper way, because that's how you get the cost of housing down. So what are people going to benefit from? 10 people having a job or 100 people having a more affordable place to live. So you can't be, I don't know, obviously innovation is going to help some people, hurt some people, but the greater good is towards efficiency and benefit and bringing the cost of things down for people. So yeah, I really agree with what you said 100%. Anytime you see automation somewhere, the jobs are replaced somewhere else, or you have people's labor freed up to contribute in other ways. And people are so adaptable that ultimately you go through hard times like we are right now, and unemployment goes up and problems arise. But through that, people adapt and people change. And all throughout history, there's always been a return to normalcy where people get new jobs, there's new industries created, and everything ends up okay. These people complaining about the jobs going away. Innovation's been happening at a breakneck speed, faster than ever before in our lifetime. So we've never seen lower unemployment than we had a couple months ago before all this stuff happened. But if innovation is really a problem, then nobody can explain that.
Especially in developing countries, where we have these mass industries employing 30% of the workforce. When we introduce a new technology that will automate the processes, and these processes will need less human workforce, they get really scared. But as you said, we cannot fight this if it's not a project born in Brazil. Some projects from a foreign country will arrive here, and the impact will be a lot worse than if it's something developed here, because we still have all the technology being built here, and all the technicals, the technicians will be from Brazil, and the material will be from Brazil. So we can shorten this impact of reducing the workforce in the construction industry by building something, the technology here, instead of bringing from another country where no one here in Brazil will know about, and the whole technology will be built outside. So in developing countries, we need to change this mindset of stopping innovation, because it will arrive sooner or later.
Yeah, we care for Brazil. The others don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they don't care about Brazil. They're just I don't know, maybe they believe in it not as much, or they just maybe they're blinded by greed or something. But it's definitely admirable to care about Brazil. And I think that it's attractive for investors to see passion, of course. So for them to see you guys really care about it intrinsically, obviously it hits home personally, because your father in Haiti saw the destruction and everything there. So it's the grassroots, really organic kind of efforts you guys are making, as opposed to a company like Winsun in China with $200 million investment from the government. I mean, what would you guys have done with $200 million? They have a lot of stuff printed, but if you got a house done in a whole printer for only $35,000, you got to imagine $200 million is crazy.
We are making huge plans on the next phase of our project, with only $250,000. Imagine $200 million will be super excited and super lost with what are we going to do with all this money. But for sure, that would accelerate our product, and we would be building a lot of houses here in Brazil with all that money.
So Brazil faced another virus. I guess it was 5 years ago, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, the Zika virus. How does that compare?
Is here in Brazil.
Is that still as prominent as it was like those however long ago when it was in the news, or has that like situation gotten less serious?
It has gotten less serious because we find some ways to fight the mosquito that transmitted the disease.
Okay.
But we still have the Zika virus here, and also dengue is another disease caused by the same mosquito. And we have a lot of campaigns, especially when it's raining, because it's the time of the year that we have more cases of it. But it's controlled. In the beginning, we didn't know what was causing all that problems, especially in newborns. But now we know, and we can prevent it.
And so how does that compare to now the situation with the new virus?
Oh, no, now it's much more aggressive, and the government actions are much more aggressive, because even though the Zika virus or dengue were transmitted by a mosquito that we cannot like control, we cannot quarantine away of a mosquito.
Sure.
But now it's much worse, all the situation here in Brazil. But we are actually, in my opinion, we are actually getting better, because in the beginning we were very scared. We didn't know nothing about the disease, right? I think the whole world was with a lot of questions and what should we do. But now we are more stabilized and not as afraid as we were in the beginning.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think that the biggest problem is the relationship now between the economy and the virus. So here people want to work, so because they need, but they can't because they may die. So that's the biggest problem. So there is a political fight in Brazil about all around this topic, and it is a big issue right now.
Yep, in America too. I guess it's the same kind of issues echoing around the world.
Yes, and the bad thing about it is because we have less money to invest in different projects. A lot of the government money went to invest in health solutions to the situation we are now. But some small portion of the innovation institutions that we have here in Brazil are trying to improve 4.0 industry. So we are applying to those funding opportunities also.
And have you included in your pitch deck that your technology improves social distancing on the construction site?
We actually have not, but we can introduce that. It's a very good point, actually.
Yeah. How many people does it take to operate your machine?
We think to mount the machine, we think we need 4 people to mount it, and then if everything occurs right and there's no problem, no pump breaking and stuff like that, we think one person can handle 10 houses.
Wow, one person.
Yeah.
One person can handle 3 houses.
And what?
10. Because the printer will make many walls, so we can decrease the price of the material. We think that's the best way to print. Not only one house, but many houses, a part of the first one, then a part of the second one, and then we can get our material hardened before we move to the next layer.
So you want to have it kind of on a rail and you can print down a long row.
Yeah,
Cool.
that's
Cool.
the best option.
Because if you do 100 houses in a row, then it doesn't matter if it takes 2 days for the layer to dry. It's so efficient because you're doing one at a time. You just constantly printing. So have you developed that rail system yet? That sounds really tricky.
That's the problem. Because of that, we need to print more houses.
Yeah.
Not only just one. Our experience just tells us how to make one, not much more.
Sure.
And another challenge of building more houses in a row is that the plane needs to be all flat and in the same level.
Mm-hmm.
And the terrain is not always like that, so we have to also flatten all the spaces that we are going to building.
Cool. You mentioned trying to venture into some other things you could print and maybe make a profit on to pursue investment. What kind of, are you allowed to talk about what kind of small stuff that is, like benches or chairs, stuff like that?
They already printed a table,
Okay.
chairs. They built it, yeah. So they built some architectural things. They built some logos and benches.
Yeah, tigers and many animals.
Like a lot of things should try, like as an experiment.
Sure.
And they built a sun chair. I don't know how to say that. Like,
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Juliana loved our merchandise, our marketing.
Yes, I will improve that, and we are gonna partner with some designers here from Brazil, and we're gonna build some nice stuff to sell it.
Cool. I saw on your website one of the videos playing in the front is a skyscraper being built, and it's like a time lapse with the crane. It's funny, even though that's traditional construction, it almost looks 3D printed when you speed it up like that because the crane is just moving so fast, bringing all the materials up.
Yeah. Here in Brazil, we don't have a lot of industrialization of the construction industry. So we build a lot of our buildings with blocks still. We don't have wood frame or steel frame. We use very little of these more industrialized methods. 70% of our construction methods are using blocks. So the technology is a tool to help industrialize the industry. And we can work with other industrialized technologies also, making like a hybrid construction, not only with one method. And in the website, I tried to picture that with that time lapse.
So have you explored partnerships with the existing construction companies in Brazil?
We have, but they are very untrustful of the technology still, because we don't have a lot of proof that it will work and that we can scale to more than one floor and things like that, that they always ask. They always ask so many questions and we don't have all the answers. So they watch us, but they are not ready to commit yet to a partnership. But maybe if we improve and we get the funding, we can show them that we can make some very livable, and we can scale if we have the funding that we need. But for one project that we are writing right now, we have a partner. We are studying a partnership with a construction company from Brasilia, and they are very straightforward and very open-minded. So we are hoping that they will close this partnership and we will build this house here in Brasilia.
Yeah, and because we published this video printing the house, many possible partners have tried to contact us so we can work on a partnership with others companies. But what we really see is they want fast profit, and we can't prove that we will give them the fast profit they want. We think we can do the better than the conventional building process. The framework they use is not better than ours, and we are confident that, but we are not confident because we didn't do something more aggressive in this sense.
Yeah, certainly it's like a high risk, high reward kind of situation because there's so little evidence in the industry as a whole. I guess you can't really expect people to invest a ton of money until it's been extensively proven. And when the first house has only just been printed, as an investor, maybe they're not engineers, so they don't just believe it if they see the MPAs and the numbers. They want to see it standing for however long. So I guess it's kind of at some point just a waiting game, even if the technology is even ready to a certain degree. I guess the question
something that they always ask us is, how come in other countries there are not mass printing houses if their technology are much more advanced than yours? And we don't know this answer, but in my opinion, it's because they have to be competitive with the other methodologies that they are using in these countries. And for what I see, some industries like in China, in the US, they are very industrialized, they are very fast. But here in Brazil, as I said, we have a very traditional methodology of building, and they don't want to leave that behind to invest in new technologies. And it's not good for the construction industry, but it is an opportunity for us because we have more financial competitivity than other technologies. So it's we see as an opportunity, but it's very hard to change their mindset. So this is our biggest challenge now as a strategy to go to market.
Yeah, what you just said actually reminds me so much of Tesla. Like how you're saying, if this technology is so great, why haven't all the other countries used it? The electric car came out in like 2012. Tesla started building it, and it was the most shorted company on the American stock market for a long time because everyone was saying, if the electric car is so great, then why aren't all the other companies building electric cars? And now since then, in the past decade, you've seen Ford's valuation go from close to like 100 billion to now it's only worth like 20 billion. Meanwhile, Tesla was worth 30 billion and now they're worth 300 billion. So Ford is now coming out with their own electric cars, and they've had to like sell all their old assets to do it. They were only making the F-150. That's the only car that they can make profitably. And every company is now having to compete. Porsche, Volkswagen, they're all building these electric cars, but it took them 7 years. Like that's a really, really long time. So cars are so widely used and such a big thing, like just similar to houses, almost everybody is driving cars. So, I mean, I think that people in the 3D printed construction space have to kind of be prepared for, it could be 7 years of kind of pioneering and proving to everyone that it's better. And it might be twice as good, 3 times as good. People aren't going to realize for a really long time.
Yeah, just to emphasize something, Juliana, I disagree. We are not better than anyone else. The others may have, there are some, I think, 3D initiatives that are better than us, but I think with the amount of money we developed this technology up to the first 3D printer house in Brazil, this this is 4 years and 4 pumps and 4 printers and a house with $35,000.
Yeah, and I wasn't even comparing you to the other companies in the industry. I was just comparing you like the whole industry. You don't see anybody doing like 100 house projects yet, and you don't see people committing to like big. Even in America, any other country, nobody's adapting. Nobody's going full throttle. Like there were a lot of electric cars developed, but like none of them really took off until like one was really big. So yeah, I mean, I think there's tons of opportunity, and you might be surprised that some of the companies that are getting into the 3D printed construction space, they might just have more funding and they might just buy a printer from another company. So they're not doing the engineering to figure out how to develop the printer. They're not even maybe designing everything on their own. They could just be buying all that stuff and printing a house. So are they really prepared to compete in this industry as well as somebody who understands the whole mechanical and everything from built it from the ground up? So yeah, I think don't be so quick to discredit yourself and the progress you've made your grassroots rather than like totally, it's obviously way harder to do it without money. And so to get to where you are without investing a ton of money or millions of dollars shows the potential in the future.
Yeah, and if you see, our house is not so different from the others all over the world.
I was going to say, it looks a lot like the one I saw in New York in America, the biggest 3D printed house in America. The styling, I mean, if somebody just saw 2 pictures of it, they might think the same person did it.
Yeah, just to what I wanted to say, I know all the efforts we went through and our budget, but people outside the project don't know. So that's what I heard, not what I say, right? People come to me and say that why isn't countries that have the technology, that are better technology, not building like hundreds of houses and things like that? And I have to answer with all these points that you guys brought to the conversation, but they don't see that. They usually judge more than try to understand what we went through and all the process we went through. But as I said in the beginning, for me, it's the most beautiful 3D printed house in the world because you guys did that with a low budget and only took 4 years, and you built everything from scratch. So I think there's a lot of value in this. But some people, they don't see that, and they always try to compare all the projects and the projects that they see the most, like China and the United States projects. They are louder than our project here in Brazil. But I think we have...
Also, your project was just completed recently too, the house.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe eventually your story could pick up. It's still been so early. I don't think they reached millions of views in the first week or 2. I think it took months and months. And ultimately, now that you've finished that house, I think that you're really going to see a huge increase in the amount of volume and interest you're getting in your company.
We are hoping.
I'm sorry, I cut you off though there. Where you going, Juliana?
We said the same thing at the same time. We hope to that, right? To try to send the message as far as we can.
Definitely, definitely.
And from which part of the United States are you from?
I'm originally from New Jersey, which is close to New York City. I'm from like the northern part of New Jersey, so it's like 20 minutes from New York. And I grew up there and then went to college in Philadelphia. So kind of traveled around a little bit. And right now I'm in Austin, Texas, trying to do a video with Icon Build. They printed some houses for the homeless here. So they haven't finished them yet. They want me to wait until they're done to do a video. So I'm patiently waiting to try to get on that site.
I really like their project. I think it's the closest project that we have from our project here in Brazil, because they are very focused on building social housing, and I think it's and they use the 3D printed layers included in the design. They don't flatten the surface. So we really get inspired sometimes with the videos that they post. We really like the project. I mean, I really like the project, but I think that Andre and the guys also know the project because I talk about the project very much. So.
Yeah, they're like the only other printed houses, I think, in South America, or they're in Central America, I guess.
Yeah, I think it was in El Salvador or something like that.
Yeah, they have the houses in El Salvador. I think they have either one or a group of houses printed in Tabasco, Mexico.
Yeah, doing that.
And
I think they were to build 100 houses in Mexico.
Wow, yeah. And then Austin, Texas, they also have a small grouping of houses.
Yeah, it's very nice. And I lived in Maryland, Rockville, Maryland. It's very close to Philadelphia. And
cool, yeah.
I drove to New York sometimes, so I think it's on a 4-hour drive. It was okay.
What did you see?
In my way to New York.
In New York.
I don't know. Oh, okay, I visit everywhere there. As soon as I arrived in the United States and we settled in Maryland, we went like all the weekends to New York because we are always hearing about New York and we want to explore everything. So I did all the touring and all the sightseeing, everything. I went to the Broadway shows. I ate in a lot of restaurants because I really like to try different food. So it was a very nice experience.
Wow, that stuff all sounds so great right now.
Yeah, I miss traveling and I miss going out to eat.
Me too, Juliana.
Yes. We are learning to appreciate all these small things, right?
Absolutely. The design that you guys do, how do you design the 3D models?
Yeah, actually, who designed the models is Iago, but he cannot answer because he doesn't understand. I don't know if he's understanding what we are talking about, but the worst part of designing in 3D is because we cannot just import the design from architecture and put in the 3D model and print, because there are things like G-code. I don't know if you know what G-code is, but it guides the printer to the path, and the way we build the design change the G-code and then change the way it will be printing the house. So when you try to make the block we print the house, you will see that we just make two moves: one to go and to get back. And to go, it goes in a line, and when it get back, it make a curve to close the blocks.
To make the pattern of the wall.
Okay.
So to do that, we have to design the building by using lines, and we have to do in a particular way so the path can go the way it goes right now. But we took at least 3 or 4 days to figure it out. That's just a block. So imagine the whole printing.
Iago usually uses SketchUp to design the 3D models.
Cool.
And here at my project, we had a partnership with Autodesk, so we used Revit and AutoCAD to build the models. But if you know the logic of building a model to be printed, then you can build in any software, any design software.
Cool. So you guys are using kind of standard 3D printing technology, exporting a G-code file, and you're having to, obviously the variables of the width of the extrusion and the height of the extrusion is really complicated, so you have to adjust for that. But at the end of the day, you submit a G-code file to the printer and print from that.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think as Andre said, we try to add as little as possible new things because we are already working with a complex technology. So everything that we can do, getting the things that are usually done in the construction industry, we do. We don't add new things, new features, and new softwares to the process that is already happening. We are just trying to give to the industry a new construction methodology, but without changing the whole process of it.
Yeah, we know we can do different things, but what's different scares our who we think will pay us to do the process. So we think if we get slower in this part, there's no problem. So we can make a relationship that we can trust in each other, we and the companies that can accept our technology.
Yeah, I think that's smart to focus, especially since it's such a new technology. If you throw a million different things at people, they'll just get overwhelmed. And so, yeah, I agree. It's probably better for you to focus on the 3D printing aspect, just focus on that. And once you get that down really well, other people can implement other new construction technologies and figure out what fits where. Is your plan to be like an engineering company developing the printer and the like how it works, or is your plan to be a construction company and print as many houses as you can?
We're still figuring out some of these questions, but I think that what I see for the future, a small, a short time future, not a long distance future, is building a tool to use in partnership with construction companies. Not building a new construction company that uses exclusively the technology, because we think that we will face a lot of barriers if we try to compete with already well-established companies here in Brazil. So we just want to present to them this new tool that they can use to improve their process. I think Andre thinks something the same as me, but we are not sure of how the future will conduct us in our business model. We are still figuring that out.
That's good. You stay lean. Most startups usually pivot once or twice before they really find success. So yeah, that's good that you haven't kind of set your mind on something before you listen to how the market reacts. And yeah.
Yeah, I think the main problem here in making a business model right now is because the 3D printing is huge. The market that comes with the technology is bigger than we thought at the first time. We can do small pieces, we can do buildings, we can do forms to the building, we can sell printers, we can make software for the printer, we can I don't know, we can make designs, we can teach. So mind blows with the amount of ideas we get when we see the technology and the potential of the technology to the world.
As you said before, how we built everything from scratch, we see this huge amount of possibilities, and we don't know which one will be what the market really needs. So we are not closing any doors. But as you said, it took a long time for the electric car to go to market and to really be explored by the other well-established companies. And what we don't want to do is compete directly with these huge companies, these huge construction companies, because they can kill our technology if they want to. So what we see is that we will work together with these companies, and when the technology is well established and when people really see the potential of the technology, then we can pivot to another business model. But for now, I think that the smart decision is to work together and to help the construction grow and industrialize and really feel the impact of the technology in their budget or in their processes. And when we do that, then we can sit and talk again what will be our path.
Yeah, we are here to help, not to compete. So where we find us helpful, we will be there.
A great part of the permitting aspect, how they used the existing norms to apply the 3D printed construction model. Now the construction companies have an exact example of the old method versus your new method, and they can compare it easily and see where you could implement this kind of technology. Maybe, I don't know if the construction process is the same in Brazil, but in America, there's usually a general contractor, and then they have all the subcontractors that are, so they'll hire out subcontractors for like the wall, the floor, the roof, electric, plumbing, all that random stuff. So maybe a company like yours would act as a subcontractor, and they would say, okay, we need a wall. And so you'd send the printer and an operator out for the day, print the wall for them, and then you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yes, it works basically the same here in Brazil. So I think that will be our way into the construction industry, being like this subcontractor part, just to build a wall, or perhaps even build some furniture for a bigger project, like I don't know how to say that, like a house complex or a building or something like that. I think that Dubai works in something close to that. They had like this huge goal that by 2025 they will have 25% of the buildings built by a 3D printed, but it's not like they are going to do like 100 buildings and 25 of them will be all 3D printed. They want to implement small parts of the project using 3D printed. So we can help being like this part of the project.
For sure. Yeah, that's an interesting distinction. I think a lot of people miss out on that. It's not the number of houses, it's the percentage of each property, 25% of every building. Yeah,
and we can find, using this kind of thinking, we can find which element of the construction is better printed than built in a different methodology. So perhaps using steel frame or wood frame or another industrialized method, we can make something more competitive than 3D printed. But if we find the right element in the construction, we can 3D print it and be more competitive than using other technologies.
Yeah, it's really interesting how different the needs for 3D printed construction are in different regions. Like Dubai is so rich, they want 3D printing for like the customization and the like cool cutting edge part. They're almost willing to pay more for a 3D printed project because they have to have it like 25. I don't know how stringent the government's going to be about that rule, but they're really really in high pursuit of it, as opposed to other places it's like a solution to lower income housing. And everywhere you go, it's a different use cases, whether it be against fire or earthquakes. There's so many different regions that people are exploring this technology, and there's so many different reasons that they're trying to implement it too. So it seems really cool. Like sometimes if a technology is not diverse enough and there's not enough uses for it, you see it kind of fizzle out because it doesn't add enough value to people. But it really seems like there's so many people around the world who stand to benefit from this in different ways that I couldn't imagine every single one of them not working.
Yeah, I think just like you, I think that the technology can adapt to a lot of different needs. And I think that this is what makes me love the technology so much. So if you want to build a low income house and provide the people that are homeless with this house, it won't cost a lot to the government or to an institution that wants to fund it. But if you want to do like some crazy geometry and high income building, you can also use the technology, and you can mix materials, not only use concrete, but you can use plastic, and you can use wood, and you can use adobe and a lot of different materials just to make the construction meet your need. So I think that I cannot see how it won't work, as you said. And you can see that by other industries too. We see 3D printing getting to the medical industry and a lot of different paths to be in. I think that is a wonderful thing about the technology, to be so adaptive.
It's important to understand that 3D printing is not a technology similar to the others. We are taking the industry to the construction, so we can adapt. Mainly, we can do faster, and we can particularize the house to someone. So if we can't adapt, use form. It's better than 3D printing. But if you want to a customization of the process, if you want a technology that can do that faster than any other technology, then you use the 3D printer to make that building. That's the main process, because it will be cheaper than the other technologies in this sense, in this scope.
And I think people appreciate that, having a customized house. It makes them feel like a stronger sense of ownership versus a cookie cutter property that's the same as every other one.
This is actually a huge problem that we have with that social housing project that I told you. They build like 1,000 houses in one piece of land, and all the houses are the same. And we have this social problem coming up in these places because the owners of the house, they end up trying to customize, but they don't have the money, so they do it like illegally or without an engineering project, and it ends up being like a favela, a planned favela, and a favela that the government helped to build. So we see a lot of social problems in this social housing program here in Brazil because of the lack of the ownership of the house.
So there's a lot of construction done without the proper regulations implemented.
Yes. Especially in the low-income areas here in Brazil, people just build their own house and their own, we call puxadinho, is when you add another room to a house without the proper project and the proper regulation. And the government try to control
other floors.
What?
In other floors.
Yeah, sometimes they build like other floors, without any project, any engineering knowledge, and it's very weird. I don't know why
Five
they do
floors,
that.
6 floors.
Yeah, very bad. But the government cannot go there and ask them to leave or to demolish the place because it's the only place that they have to leave. So if the government does that, the problem would be bigger. So they try to not see and just leave it like that.
Yeah, that's definitely not optimal. And it's dangerous for people to be doing their own construction like that. But it's almost beneficial for you guys because for the government to see there's so much not being regulated. They see you guys at least trying to work with them, and they like respect that you respect them, especially when nobody else really is.
Yeah, we try to put them in the project in the beginning of the construction. They can follow the whole process and be part of the process, so they don't feel left out, and they help us get the regulations that we need to grow the technology here in Brazil.
Do they like working with you guys? Are they like excited about the project? Is interesting to them?
Some of them are, but some of them are just doing for the marketing.
Sure.
They don't really know what is going on, but they like to have their names like a supporter or something. But we do have the national, how can I say that? The National Construction Department of Brazil. They know our project, and they try to talk to us from time to time to see how our progress is. And also the Engineering Council, which is regional. They also show a lot of, they really want to see where the technology is going to. So that's why they approved the project in Natal, and that's why they would approve the project here, just to experiment and see how the technology will develop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they inspect. We had 2 inspections from the council in our building, and we talked about what we were doing in the building, how we were going to do the layers and everything, so they can understand what we are doing and maybe don't bother and disturb our process to get the house done.
They are curious, and they are using us to learn more from the technology. But it's okay because we need them to approve our building, so we don't mind showing them how the process works.
From the beginning, we didn't even know how to write the project to the council, so we had to ask, hey, how can we write so you can approve or understand what we are doing and can make a partnership so we can share our progress and you understand, and we can go on with this technology.
Yeah, cool. Cool. You guys were talking about how you like prepared part of your speeches because you were worried about doing it in your second language. You guys are so good at English. Everything you said has been totally clear. There haven't been any issues at all.
Yeah. Wow. It's a weight out of my shoulders because we always get so nervous about speaking in a foreign language to make ourselves clear. And Andre is very perfectionist. He wants his words to come out right and the accent. But I told him earlier, we just need to communicate. So if we do that, that will be a success. And I think we did a very good job also.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been
maybe I have Canadian accent because I lived there 3 months.
You have a little bit of a Canadian accent. Where in Canada were
I
you?
don't know. I think I have a Brazilian accent.
Was it Quebec?
No, it was in Toronto.
Toronto. I was gonna say I can almost hear like a little bit of French Canadian accent in your English slightly.
That's because of Portuguese.
Yeah, it's just because Portuguese is very similar to French.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I always thought Portuguese was more similar to Spanish.
Yeah, it is. Both of them have Latin roots, so all of them are very similar, but it's much more similar to Spanish than to French for sure.
The writing is almost equal.
We say that to speak Spanish, we just have to put some accent, and people will understand us.
Portunhol.
Yeah, we call it's just like Spanglish. We call Portunhol. It's like the mixture of Portuguese and Spanish because Spanish in Portuguese is Espanhol, so we call Portunhol.
And Portuguese is pronounced Português.
Yeah.
Yes.
I took Spanish in school and had some Spanish roommates in like high school and college, so I know how to like understand a little bit of Spanish. So like when I hear Portuguese, I recognize pieces of it that are similar to the Spanish, but still there's some words that just totally throw me for a loop and I have no idea.
Even though with Portuguese from Portugal, sometimes we have problems understanding because some words change and some words change, accent change. So, but we can understand in the whole scenario.
So I was thinking about, since your project is so new and hasn't gotten that much coverage yet, I haven't done this for the other podcast that I did, but I was going to put together like a little video, like maybe a 6 to 10 minute video of the projects that you guys did. So would it be okay if I pulled the videos from your YouTube channel and made like a little teaser? Maybe I'll include some of this footage in that, and then I'll post like the shorter one about your house and say the first house printed in Brazil. And then I'll link the podcast and say, if you want to learn more about it, here we had a longer conversation.
No problem.
Yeah, I'm okay with that too. That would be great, actually.
Cool. So is all the footage on YouTube, or is there any other footage you guys have that you could send me?
All my footage are on YouTube. The time lapse of the house is on my channel too. I don't think Andre 3D Home Construction have a YouTube channel.
I think they have, but I don't know the password, or I don't manage the account.
Oh, okay. If you want, you can take the footage of the 3D printed house from my YouTube because I uploaded there, so I could put on my website. Just don't forget to mention the 2 different projects because
Yes, here. So
the
they can understand us.
What's the other channel? I can make sure to link to both channels in the description.
You can try 3D Home Construction. See if you find something.
I'm doing it right now. I think I found it.
Since I am recording from my computer, I cannot see my face on the screen. But when I was speaking, I put my window larger.
Okay, great.
So sometimes you can see my face, but sometimes you don't.
I put the YouTube link here in the chat.
Got it. Okay, cool. So I'll pull videos from these channels and I'll make sure to link both of them. Yeah, thank you guys so much for making the time to talk to me today. This has been really great.
Thank you for asking us to join your podcast and your channel. I think that will be a very good marketing for us, and it's actually the first international and English interview of the. I think the 3D printed house. I think it's the first English interview, right, Andre?
Yeah, about the
So
3D printed, yes.
that will totally help our project to reach more people because English is a very well-known language. So sometimes I've been asked to translate some parts of my website and things like that, or videos I post. So being able to make an entire interview in English, that it's very nice.
Yeah, cool. It's an honor to be the first platform you guys publish on in English. That's cool.
And it's very important to us that other people see our work and give us feedback, because we are working very hard here, and when we don't see what people think about our work, uh, even if it's not good, but mainly, of course, when people like our work is better. But it's important to receive those feedbacks so we can grow and we can do better next time, when we can understand the technology and where we are and how we can go further.
Yeah, because we are so engaged in the project. It's our little baby. Sometimes we don't see the flaws and we don't see how we can improve being inside the project. So every time that we speak to someone else that is outside the project, we receive so many good ideas. For example, the one about the social distancing in the construction site. I never thought about that, and it's something we can put in the project we are writing to get funding. So it's very, very nice.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, I'll definitely make sure to stay in touch with you guys and watch your channels and see if you make any other updates. And maybe when you do your next project, we can do it a second episode.
Yeah, let's hope that from a year from now we have another house built with a very updated machine and not pumping, broken, and stuff like that.
Sad,
Cool.
sad.
All right. Well, I wish you the best. Thanks again for your time, and keep doing what you guys are doing. I love it.
Thanks, Jared.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much, and keep the good work sharing all the projects in 3DCP.
All right. I will. Have a good day.
Have
You
a
too.
good day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. E aí? Esse é o primeiro?